Hello everybody, my name is Aaron, and today we're going to be changing the oil on a GMC Terrain Equinox Denali. They're all pretty much this, actually they are all the same engine. Why am I making this video? Well, because I have had a lot of difficulty changing the oil filter in these things, so I got a bit of a cheat for you as we go through this. You're going to want to get your tools together. Let's go over that right now. First of all, grab yourself some oil. This thing calls for 5W30 SEA, which is this stuff right here. They're pretty cheap. Obviously your oil catch, okay, and then you want your oil filter. This is a fram CH9018. I'm using this pry tool to get the rubber ring off of the filter cover threads. You actually pop the oil pan, you're going to need a 15 mil, and you're going to need a ratchet. I mean, you could use a wrench if you really wanted to. Here's the one that got me. 1 1/4 inch socket that you're going to need for the filter. This fits perfectly on the filter, but the problem with the filter is it's in a spot where it's very hard to get a tool in, so much so that that thickness of the head of this ratchet on the top of that socket is there's no room for it. So what I've done is I've gotten an elbow and then a little adapter thing on the end for my ratchet, but an elbow, and this ratchet also has, what is that called? Is that an elbow as well? Anyways, so it gives me enough clearance to get in there. This should be enough to at least crack it and tighten it so I can get in there with my hand. You can just use a wrench. It's a huge pain in the butt, but you can use a wrench and go little bit by little bit by little bit to get this oil filter off, but this is going to be the best way to do it. So I normally drive with my engine cover off. I don't need the engine to look pretty all the time. Whatever, easy access if it's not there. To get that off, it's this screw right here, and there's another one of these pipe clamps under here, and then everything pulls up, and you have this pipe on the side, this little PCV thing right over here that needs to come off. The hardest part is getting this oil filter off. So you have to play with it a little bit to get it in just perfect. Oh my gosh, it happened first time. There you go. So now the socket's in there with that elbow, and now I can give it a few cranks. I'm gonna go get an extender for this ratchet. Okay, so I got the ratchet on there with an extender now, and the idea is to get it as high up as you can while you twist. There it is. And there's the tool out. And now to get at the oil filter, and you can turn it with your hand. And there it is. So that's how to do it with a socket and an elbow. You could probably get a wrench involved in this, although I don't have a 1 1/4 inch wrench. Put that right there. And that is your filter out. Your oil drain plug is right here, the back of the engine. It's pretty easy to get at, actually. I'm not using any car jacks or anything. I'm just under here. You want to make sure that your catch can is in place by the time you reach the end of your threads, or you're in trouble. I'm trying to use my wrist. There we go. I just cracked the seal on it. Now we're going to hand loosen, and you get to a certain spot and you never let go of the screw. Always apply pressure, push it against the sidewall, and always be pulling it away because you don't want it to fall into the oil catch. And I can feel it's right at the end. So I'm holding it as best as I can. There. Now as that drains, we're gonna put the new oil filter on. So before we get to cranking this off, what you want to do first is get your new O-ring out of the bag. Why? Because it's going to be a huge pain in the butt to get this out with your hands covered in oil. That's your new O-ring. Put it off to the side. What we'll want to do is pry out this existing oil filter. right into the garbage. There will be oil buildup in here. There is an O-ring around this thread right here. That's all you need to do. Pull it down and away. Now, I'd be careful not to break this O-ring just in case your new one breaks or something goes wrong. So you actually have an O-ring, because this will not work without the O-ring. Right? So I'm going to put that off to the side. You want to get this O-ring wet with oil, run it around on the inside and get it nice and oily. Yeah, it'd be good if you used new oil, but the whole point is just so that when you put this cap back onto the vehicle, that as it slides into place, it doesn't grip the O-ring and rip it. So you want to put it over the threads on one side and crawl over to the other side. It stretches like an elastic band. And then this is where your tool comes in again, and we want to make sure not to wreck the O-ring. And there it is. So next step is to shove your filter on. Now this filter clicks into place, and most likely, okay, so we got it held into place. When you press it into the motor, it will crunch even further and hold tight. So this portion is done. We are now on to getting this back into the motor. So we're still draining underneath the vehicle right now. So we're going to slide this into place and be very careful about it. We don't want to get it full of dirt or anything, because that will shorten the life of the filter. So you want to make sure you're only touching the spot it's supposed to go in. It's going to go in very oddly, and I am hand tightening as far down as I can. Putting the socket back in. There we go. Oh, that's getting tight. Okay. Now, she looks good. Okay, so I put the oil pan bolt back in. I don't get snipes out and all that kind of stuff. I just do it as best I can while I'm under there in an awkward spot. The idea is to fill it up and then check with the dipstick. But I'm going to save you guys a step and put it off to the side and then fill it. Then you don't have to take the dipstick out covered in oil, clean it to dip it back in. You see that? It's like a half step. I'm going to save you a half step. So I'm taking my cap off. I'm looking at it, looking for white substance. There's a bit of blue here. I think that's from the seal. White means that you're getting condensation in there. I'm going to clean off the inside, because whatever the oil touches is going to drag down into your engine. And now we're men, so we're going to not use a funnel. I prefer to spill everywhere anyways. Every time you do an oil check, you absolutely want to check this guy right here. This is your PCV. Be careful. This is just plastic and tube, and you don't really want to be replacing stuff you don't have to. But you'll start to see condensation build up on this thing, especially in the winter. So you want to clean that off, blow through the tube so that all the gunk gets out. Gross, just covered my tripod in it. Let me get a rag and wipe this off. Just wiping it off. In the winter, you will get condensation build up in there. If that condensation freezes and fills this pipe, you're in big trouble. Head won't vent right. And so every oil change, just blow that out. Super easy to do. So the Terrain 2.4 liter 4-cylinder takes 4.7 liters or 5 quarts, I believe it was, of oil. And that is basically one of those guys. Put it in there, dip the stick, and it's perfectly full. So we're gonna put the cap on and start this bad boy up. We are in my Terrain. It's 2012. Last year I went on a vacation, oddly enough. Put the key in, turn it to the on position. Wait for the electronics to catch up. Yeah, my hood's open, blah, blah. Come over here, hit menu, vehicle information. Go down to oil life, 26% I had left. I'm gonna reset it. So you hit set and clear and you hold it. Are you sure you want to reset? Move it up, set and clear again. 100%. And this is the first time I'm starting this vehicle after my oil change. Thank you all for joining. That is how you save the world, and we will see you on the next one. Toodles.